Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Good morning and welcome to National Discourse this beautiful day. I still remain your host, Uche Uduma. Now today we're going to be looking at the APC state congresses that was held across the state of Nigeria. And of course we know that the last one we had was a World Congress, and this is State Congress, and what are the differences that we were able to spot out between the World Congress and the State Congress? That is all we'll be looking at today. And of course, slightly touch on party defection, how it's going to affect next year's election. I have someone in the studio with me. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, I'll introduce a guest today who will do justice to that topic. Please stay with us.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, so welcome back from the short break. I have with me Mr. Ayuba Ilya. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now he's going to help us digest this topic, and of course, let's remember again that yesterday during a court process or court proceeding, now Olisametu fainted in court. Was that stage managed or was that real, sir? I think we should start with that before we go into the business of today.
Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I would say that we really can't say whether it was stage managed or it was genuine, even though there are medical experts that have given the confirmation to the court that the man is indeed sick. We still cannot ascertain, because the way the system is being run in this country, the corruption in this country, anything can happen. You know, you can just connive with any medical doctor to give you, a medical results, that will show whatever kind of ailment you choose to. And then at the same time, it can be actually genuine. So whether it's true or not, it's not for me here really to say, it's either genuine or not. But one thing is certain is that whatever it is, we need to, be human, in our dealings, even as, as professionals.
Now that takes me to the judge's action.
Yeah.
Like, regardless someone is down, he actually, tries seeing it as an antic to run away from whatever thing he came to face.
Yeah.
Or he saw it from the perspective of a wastage of the court's time.
Yeah.
That this case would have been concluded, but each time he comes to court, is it that's one thing or the other? So whatever thing that was happening to him at that moment, it wasn't the judge's business.
Yes.
His business was
To
get
deliver.
the witness in the dock and then do what you're supposed to do. Now, how does that portray Nigeria? Or what do you think the judge was trying to portray in doing that?
Well, I believe that the judge has his reasons for, insisting that the trial should proceed. And then I'm not going to blame him for taking that decision. I'm not going to see any fault because, in my personal opinion, I feel that perhaps in his experience over time, he has seen how people, adopt, different kind of strategies, to delay justice and to frustrate trials and so on and so forth. So he may be doing that out of his experience, from the past that, it's been a norm, especially, if you look at our politicians, whenever there's a trial going on, all manner of strategies, all manner of legal tactics is being deployed, to frustrate the cause of justice. So it's not a new thing in Nigeria at all. And then I'm not going to, whatever the decision the judge takes, I believe that he's taking that decision from an informed perspective, and maybe there are evidences, there are information that he has in his disposal that informed his choice to take that decision. So
now, talking about the medical profession, that some persons could be bought over. I know it happens everywhere. Yeah. But looking at the state of our country right now and with the fight against corruption, let's start with the first time that Senator Dino Melaye was taken to Zanklek Hospital. The next thing we heard was that the doctor that attended to him was arrested. Yeah. Because they said that whatever thing he wrote on the result wasn't what was happening to him. Yes. Now, coming back to this, in as much as there was a medical report, to the fact that he's not really okay, and the judge still went ahead to take the decision that he took, are we saying we can't rely properly on our medical experts we have in Nigeria in relation to the fight against corruption?
Yes. The medical or the health sector, just like any other system in this country, as we know, is also have its own kind of challenges. People are compromising. People are being unprofessional in the conduct of their services, and then it raises questions about whether we can rely on them. The truth is that with where we find ourselves, it's very difficult to do so. It's very difficult to rely on our medical experts and so on, because not many actually value the place of integrity in delivery, in discharging their duties and in doing their job. Not many. Some don't. Some are just after the money, and if you can give them the money, they can do whatever you want them to do. So it's critical, because we need to go beyond this point in our history for us to really make a very meaningful progress.
All right. Now, moving down to the business of the day, APC Congress, APC state congresses, that was held across the states of Nigeria. What's the update we have, in as much as we have a little insight into what happened?
Yeah. Well, from what we have seen from media reports and so on, it's amazing, or it's unbelievable, or should I say it's disappointing or embarrassing that out of all the states that we have under the All Progressive Congress, I think we have about 22 of them, and then out of all the states, you have more than 20 of those states holding, two separate congresses in each of the states, which is, in the end of the day, you have two different sets of executives for the same party in one state. So it spells doom, because it simply shows the division, right? It's in the party. In a particular state, for instance, if you take Kogi State, for instance, if you are not, on the Bello side, you definitely have to be on the Melai side. If you go to Kwara State, if you are not on the Saraki side, then you have to be on the other side. If you go to other states, the same thing. If you go to Oyo State, you know,
Ekiti State. Talk more on what is happening in Ekiti State.
Ekiti State, Oyo State, virtually
now,
all the states.
Why is it difficult for the rest of APC members to accept the fact that Fayemi emerged as the party flag bearer?
Well, there are so many reasons. Maybe because they feel that Fayemi has the support from, you know, he has what they call the federal mites. You know, maybe he has the support of maybe they feel that maybe it was rigged. Maybe Fayemi was installed in that office, and that's why maybe some of them will feel aggrieved. Maybe they feel it's not the person that they are actually, you know, they actually want in that office. Considering the fact that he was a governor in that same state before, so definitely his records are there. Some people will feel that we shouldn't have this same man back into the state again. So that may inform the grievances.
And then I think a follow-up question is, why is it difficult for some politicians to just let go? You have been a governor in a state before, and then a senator, and the next you want to return back as a governor. I mean, what is there? Is it a gold mile?
Well, most of the times what they will tell you is that they have unfinished business. There are things that they wish they would have done when they were in office.
And businesses that they did not finish while they had the ample time to do that.
Yes, now they want to go back and do it. That's most of the time that's what they will tell you. But we all know that there are ulterior motives.
Now, is that good for our democracy? Man, you've ruled the first time, and then you left, you went to the Senate, and the next day you want to come back. Doesn't mean we don't have capable people in that state. We start talking about Ekiti State. And looking at what Fayoshe has been able to achieve, of course, this is politics. Some persons will argue and tell you that he has really not done much in Ekiti State. But Ekiti State, from our records, is the first state to be able to curb the menace of Fulani herdsmen. That place is a no-go area. You dare not go there with cattle. If they catch your cattle or they catch you, you're going to be arrested. You know. Now, let's look at that, at least for now. You've not heard about Fulani herdsmen menace in Ekiti State. That's kudos to, you know, Fayoshe. Now, coming back to Fayemi trying to come back, are we saying we don't have capable hands in Ekiti State that will be able to run that state properly?
Well, that question is a challenge to the people in Ekiti State. For them to decide whether they have now, because, you know, there's a problem with our political system. And part of the problem is that we keep cycling the same set of people. Either maybe because we think, you know, these same faces that we have seen all the time these are the only faces that can. And the politicians themselves seem to now, you know, adjust to this, or seem to now imbibe this idea that once I'm very popular in the state, once I've held one position or the other, then I can just switch to any other position at any time. And then we keep recycling. And what is the reason behind this? It's simple. Poverty in the land. People sell votes. People don't really look at, you know...
Is it sell vote or sell conscience?
They sell their conscience.
Good. I think that's a better word. Because
they sell their conscience.
If you say you're selling your vote, it means you're selling your vote to the right candidate.
Yes.
But you sell your conscience. When you know that this person is not right, but because there are some cartons of Indomie that be released to you,
because
or tin tomatoes or something.
The challenge is that the person that has been exposed to power before, the tendency is that he has the money to contend with whoever is going to come out. And most of the times, the unpopular people, the new guys that are coming on board, will most of the time they don't have any, money to really like contend with the opposition, with the person that has been, in power. So it's a problem. It's a major problem. And the end of the day, the masses resort to, because of, the idea of selling their conscience, the compromise and all of that, then they give it to the person that has the money. And that is where the challenge is for people, even in all across the country, for them to really see beyond the money, for them to really, vote for candidates based on merit, not just because of, stomach infrastructure, as some people call it.
Now, I would want to talk on, what is it called? Trying to pick a ticket for your party. the monetary involvement, the financial involvement in picking that ticket.
Yes.
Now, do you think we should adjust our electoral act a bit to be able to accommodate the young people? Because right now we are thinking, and we keep shouting that the young people are not given opportunity, in as much as some persons have been given opportunities and they are not using it well. And outside example, the governor of Kogi State, he's, I think, among the youngest governors we have.
Yes.
And then he is one of the governors that is earning people's salary for over 22 months, in the state.
Yes.
He's one of the youngest governors we have. Now, looking at the ability of our democratic system to accommodate the young people, talking about the financial implication, of coming out to pick a party ticket, do you think we should adjust, our laws to that effect?
Yeah, I think that is already ongoing. The constitutional review that is ongoing, and even the amendment of the Electoral Act that was concluded by the National Assembly, even though we are still waiting the implementation.
Because I know what actually they've been on, seriously, is reordering.
Yes.
Because that's the one that affects them.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We're talking about the financial implications.
Yes, apart from the
picking a party.
Yes, apart from the reordering of the election sequence, that's the amount of money you use to buy nomination ticket for parties that have been regulated in the new electoral amendment, even though, like I said, it has not been implemented yet.
Sure.
And I think for the president, it's around 10 million naira. Then if you go down to the governors, it's 5 million naira, and then like that. It has been regulated.
We are waiting for the implementation.
And that was, yes, we are waiting for the implementation.
Because we have so many laws.
Yes.
We have a whole lot of laws, but implementation becomes a challenge for us in Nigeria.
That's the major issue. And that's why we are hoping that before the 2019 election, the amendment will be, implemented, will be signed into law, so that going forward, young people will be able to, participate in the whole process, especially with the whole not too young to run bill and all of that. If we can have these two passed into law before the 2019 election, then I am hopeful that we are beginning to take, the right direction.
All right, let's get back to the just concluded APC state congresses. Now, this party is barely 4 years. That's 3 years plus.
Yeah.
Barely, all right, because we saw them come into force after the coalition and merger, for the 2015 election, that took place. Now, if this party cannot survive under 4 years, what does it tell of us in the next coming election? Because most times you look back at PDP and then you begin to say that they ruled Nigeria for 16 years. Now, we can't say for the 16 years there was no issues. But we are talking about issues, that will lead to division, or issues are same as division, happening in APC at this prime time. This is 3.5 years, and they are having such issues. What does it tell us about the party?
It simply shows that the party, well, in my opinion and in my projection, it's not going to last as long as that 16 years. Because if we are already seeing this, the PDP, we didn't really see the division in PDP come to full glare until when it was towards the end of the, when things began to, when things began to fall, when things fell apart.
Yeah.
That was when we began to see the Alimodu Sharif and the McCarthy's going to court and all of that. But in the case of the All Progressive Congress, it shows that everything was actually just rallied about. Everything was just around one person, which is the president. The idea of the All Progressive Congress was to install the president in power.
Let's remember
that has been,
let's not forget that the former president Olusegun Obasanjo is still coming up with such coalition, which we are still expecting merger. Like I think last 2 weeks, we're hearing that PDP was going to concede, and then some other parties, and then plus 36 parties, coming up. Now, if we keep having premature coalition, in quotes, because we want to achieve certain things that are just in front of us, what happens when such an event or incident have come and gone? Let's look at sustainability of most of our coalition or merger or whatever as party system. How can we sustain a democracy with such premature coalition?
It's not possible, because The truth is that most of the times, if you check the motivation for forming such coalitions or leaving one party to another, if you check the motivation, it's mostly personal. It's not driven by interest for the majority, as it were, but it's for personal gains. If I join this party and I feel that I am not being carried along, if I feel that I'm not benefiting that much, then I leave. Move. Yes, I move. I just create a scenario, just
that looks as if there
is problem in the party, and then I move on. Because if you just leave without creating a drama, it will look so simple, and it will look like you are,
and probably might not have confirmed with what the constitutional
provision is. So the best thing is just to create a drama. Just create drama. Come on the media and just say something that, look, this party, this person is against me, this person is doing this and that and that and that. Then I now move to the next party, and that's the idea. And you cannot move a country like that, because, like we've seen, the All Progressive Congress was birthed out of a coalition, and now we are already seeing factions. We are seeing, just like the state congress and the world congress have confirmed, we are seeing factions, right? Like I said, now out of the 21 states that you have, out of the 22 states ruled by APC, you have more than 40 APC chairmen for all these states. How possible is that? You have less than, you have half that number, as states ruled by APC, and now you are having a double number as chairman for all those, states. It simply shows the division.
Okay, now
you are already seeing, you are already seeing a group called the NPD. If you go to Kwara State, you see a group called the Unity Forum. If you go to another state, you see different, one is, they call it Akida, in Katsina State. Different groups like that in the same party. What does that show? They are already, what do I call it now? Preparing themselves. Yes. It's the faction that will bring about the moving away. So after all these things, later the next thing we are going to hear is that they have joined
the new party,
the new coalition, and so on. And it's unfortunate for Nigerians, because when we are talking about coalition of fresh ideas and fresh Nigerians,
it should actually be fresh.
You understand? It should be fresh.
Not recycling.
But what we have most of the time is that the aggrieved people from PDP, aggrieved people with APC, aggrieved people from other parties will come together and form this thing. And what you have is another APC again.
Exactly. Now, looking at the APC formation, for example, if you look at the formation of APC, discover that you have majority of PDP members. Now, we are still talking about the same ideas. Like, it's not a personal thing. Now, if you belong to a group or a party, it means you have all the ideas of that party in you. You have the modus of operandi, the way you work there. You're carrying it along to the new party. Now, if APC formation has more or percentage of PDP members, going there, now the same people were able to hold on PDP for 16 years before we started seeing some issues. Does it mean that this division we are seeing in APC is intentional?
Yes, I can say yes, to an extent it's intentional. Sometimes anyway, it's my view. Sometimes I feel it is intentional because, like I said earlier, you cannot just leave the party when everything is normal and stable and fine and everything. All right? If the thing is not favoring you, if you are not benefiting personally from the party, you cannot just leave until and except you paint a scenario of conflict, except you create a scenario of conflict. That is the only time you can leave.
What I'm actually interested in is, if we keep moving or recycling, I think that word is better. If you keep recycling the same brains you have, the only thing is change of name of party.
Yes.
Recycle people from one party to another, the same set of people. Now from PDP to APC, from APC they are already forming other groups. Now we have the one that Olusegun Obasanjo have formed. Who knows, from still the same APC, people will move over there. We end up recycling the same kind of people. Do you think our laws should come there and then probably adjust certain things to watch the rate at which people defect? Because the condition for defection or cross-carpeting is not stringent.
Yes.
And even as loose as it is, I beg to use the word, people are not even complying to it.
Yes.
And there is nobody actually holding anybody down to it and say, you didn't comply to the condition for defection, but you've gone.
Yeah.
And our lawmakers that are supposed to be the ones to see to the fact that the conditions preceding defection is being complied with, they are the ones, breaking the conditions, breaking the laws. Do you think we should come up with fresh laws that will become more stringent with more, enforceable power?
Yes, I think we should. We should come up with more laws that will make it more stringent. But who will come up with the law? That's the problem. Who will build the cat? It's just like you have people, the lawmakers, you just said now, they are the culprits. They are the number one culprits in this. They are the first, because defection, check it out. Check the records so far. Who are the people that are defecting? Have you heard? Before you hear a governor defect, it's not so easy to do like that. But for a lawmaker, it's easy. Just write a letter to the Senate President or write a letter to the Speaker of the House of Representatives that you are moving out. And may God make it so favorable that the party you say you want to move to is the ruling party. In fact, they will facilitate the process for you. You see the problem now? So the people that are supposed to make the laws are the beneficiaries of this status quo. So it's difficult for them to come up with more stringent laws that will regulate this thing. Because it's like shooting themselves on the foot. If you do that, you are making it more difficult. If for instance, something is, they are not, giving the kind of attention, that they want from the party in which they belong, they cannot defect if they come up with more stringent laws.
But
so they want an atmosphere or a law that allows them to just move anyhow.
And this is surely not good for democracy.
Certainly.
In as much as in democracy, talk about the rights and privileges of citizens, as enshrined in the Constitution. But I still think we need to come up with something, more tangible, and of course ensure compliance, because it's not just bringing out laws. Like I tell you, we as a country, we have so many laws, but we don't have compliance force. That is the problem. Yeah. And as long as nobody is complying, we don't have, of course, when laws are made, the executive should ensure that they are properly implemented. I don't even want to go there. But we are saying if we're coming up with laws, let's come up with laws that we can maintain when it has to do with compliance, to ensure that these laws are properly complied with. Anyway, when we were talking about, you slightly mentioned about people feeling, if I'm in a party, for example, and then I'm not being affected by the programs of the party. Like, I'm not being carried along. Now, look at this movement. Some persons in APC that moved, some groups, from PDP that moved to APC, they are the ones feeling aggrieved. Now, does it mean that the coalition does not absorb all its members? Does it mean that if you cross-carpet, the original party knows its members?
Yes, that's what it means.
So why are we cross-carpeting?
That's what it means.
Why the coalition?
The moving is with the expectation that when you move, you feel okay, here it's not working, and you decide to move. It is with the expectation that you are going to benefit more in this new place you are going. And what happens most of the time is that eventually, when you get there, you now discover that it's not the way you were. It's not the way you were thinking. So you are not going to benefit more. So that's why you now see nothing has really changed because of that issue of interest.
All right. Now, still talking of defection, or still talking about trying to cross carpet. We'll go for a short break, but when we come back, I would leave you with this: that our governor of Imo State, Okorocha, is actually thinking along that line. Like, should I run with ABGA if APC denies me the opportunity to do that, and of course to install my son-in-law. That is what we are looking at. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we look at that. Cross-carpeting or party defection, what you think. You can meet us with the number on the screen. You can call us and give us a contribution or your question. Please stay with us.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like nakama. They are like agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.
All right, so welcome back from that break. Before we went for the break, we're talking about party defection, party cross-carpeting, how people are moving from one place to another. And then I left out with this thought that Governor Okorocha is actually contemplating, moving to APGA. Paraventure, he does not get what he wants in APC. And talking about what he wants to get, talking about his personal interest against the state interest, and of course the tenets of democracy. How does that fit in what we want, unity of purpose in Nigeria?
Well, this one is a shortcut to me because, first of all, let's look at Rochas Okorocha as the chairman of the APC Governors Forum. Now, for somebody like him to begin to consider APGA, then maybe I would say that the end has come for the All Progressive Congress. Because
really, his village people really got him.
Yes, because because if you look at the little support or votes that the All Progressive Congress has from the southeast, even though we know that it is not much, it is mobilized by somebody like Rochas Okorocha. So if you have Rochas considering APGA, and if it is true that he's eventually going there, then it means that for the All Progressive Congress, forget about even the little 5% that we say are from the southeast. So that's really not going to be very good. Then, secondly, whether it's good for our democracy or not. Well,
because if you look at it very right, it's his personal interest.
Yes.
He wants to install or whatever his son-in-law.
His son-in-law, yes.
And then looking at that. Now, he didn't get what he wants in APC.
Yes.
Because that is exactly what he wants.
Yes,
he's not considering what is good for business.
Yes, one thing that I've observed is that for every governor that wants to go out, what they do is because most of them know that during their tenure, right? During their tenure, there is some deals, some shady deals that they were engaged in. They would rather have someone that will
keep covering them.
Exactly. That's where the issue of godfatherism and what have you comes from. Even in Ekiti State, it is happening, and they are not hiding it. They are not apologetic about it. They will tell you that they have the right to side or to support whatever candidate they want to do.
Of course, it's their right.
They can tell you that even if he's his brother, he will tell you that he has the right to support the person. So, but what we are saying is that it's not good for our democracy because it means that it is you that is still coming back in a different form.
Now, looking at godfatherism, we've seen godfatherism play out in the past. and most times it does not work out by the time they succeed in installing the person in the position of authority that they actually want to. Now, let's look at Obasanjo and look at, I don't want to say Yaradua, let's look at Obasanjo and look at Jonathan. It never worked. Do you understand?
Yes.
Let's look at Jonathan and Buhari. Obasanjo, the same Obasanjo and Buhari. It did not work out.
Yes.
So, looking at it, taking it from the air. Now, even going back to Abia State, for example, we can see what happened between the past governor, Jose Carlo, and then the governor that preceded him, T.A. Oji. You know, it never worked out.
Yes.
Now, T.A. Oji is instrumental to bring in Okizi Mazu there. And then it's still not working out.
Yes.
Now, how is Rocha Sukorocha very sure? Forget about the family ties. How is he sure that by the time he gets into power, or he ends up succeeding in bringing his son-in-law there, that whatever thing he wants to cover up will still be there?
Another question is, how is he sure that if he allows another part, I will just still throw another question. How is he sure that if he allows somebody else to come in, the person would either not cover up for him or cover up for him? It's still a game of 50-50. So he cannot say, right? But to be on the safer side, it's just like saying, instead of, just letting everything just go, I will still try in my own part to just make an effort to try to cover up, to protect myself. So it's not like he has certainty, like 100% certainty, but at least the feeling that he is on the safer side, so that if eventually his relative or something eventually turns his back against him, then they will say, yeah, that one has betrayed this person, he has did, then he knows now how to play the politics from there.
I kind of feel sorry for the people of Imo State right now, because where exactly their politics is actually not comatose state, but it's in a sorry state. Now, if they allow this to happen, or if they allow this to go through, it becomes a monarchical system of government, a kind of, that's being handed out from generation, but the same family.
Yes.
When you are done, you give over to your son. When you are done, and all that.
If you ask me, that's the system that we are practicing. Actually, it's not like Imo State is having anything different from the rest of the country. It's the same thing that has been happening. Actually, our democratic system, I can only best describe it as a democratic monarchy. That's the kind of system we don't have a true democracy. We have a democratic monarchy, because what happens most of the times is that you have the leadership of the state or whatever is surrounded around one person or a family. We've seen the Yaraduas come and gone in this country. We've seen the Obasanjos come and gone, right? We've seen the Buharis now for the second time. So everything sort of revolves around same people. And go to the ministries, departments, and parastatals and check who are the people that are there at the moment. It's a thing of class. The elites have taken over everywhere. And that thing, I don't know when it's going to end, but this is what we have in the system. They have their kids, they have their children in all the strategic places that you can think of in this country. And that is where the money goes to. And if today they say, come out and contest for so and so, they have the money to contest. Even
because the money still revolves around
the same set of people. So a son of a nobody cannot just wake up from anywhere and say, I want to contend with this person who has been working with NNPC before, who have served as a commissioner in one level in one state or the other. It's difficult to contend with such a person because the person have been streaming in money, and that's why the status quo remains the same for only God knows how long now.
Now,
that's our major problem.
Looking at this right now, and we know that truthfully, cross-carpeting or party defection has, neither helped us as a country. Rather it has made us looking at a democratic setup, if we think we can sustain a democracy. Now, taking that apart, looking at godfatherism, it has neither helped us nor strengthened our democracy. It has always been a kind of a cankerworm in our democratic setup. Now, what can you possibly suggest we can do to purge our democratic setup? Because I really don't want to use some word, but our democracy is not strong enough to contend the kind of world-class democracies we are seeing.
Yes.
Now, we have election coming next year. What do you think are the strategies that either the government or whoever is going to employ to ensure that Nigerians vote accordingly, not selling the conscience? Like I told you, it's not selling a vote, not selling the conscience. You know that this person is right to do this. This person is the person that can do the job because the person does not have the financial know-how, to compete in that. You intend to sell your conscience, and then as you are doing that, you as a person, you are the one helping to break down our democratic system. So how can we, push aside cross-carpeting, godfatherism, and financial know-how in our democracy for next year's election? What are the antics you think we can employ to ensure that we get the right person next year?
Well, first I will start by saying that there is no government that will do anything that will seem to be against itself. There is no government that will come and make Nigerians wake up to the realities on ground. There is no government that will come and tell you, go and vote. There is no government that would ensure that your vote counts. Nigerians have to wake up to the realities of the day and tell themselves the truth. Nigerians have the power. They alone can wake up and realize, or should I say, Nigerians need to just realize that they have the power to shape the direction of this country. Government will not give you the awareness that you need to move on. It depends on you. So, my challenge is to us Nigerians as a whole and to media setups and organizations to create that awareness and sensitize ourselves. Civil society organizations, NGOs, and all of that. For Nigerians to become more interested in their government, in their politics, in the policies. Don't be religious about it. Don't say, well, I'm a Christian. And I've heard some people say, well, our kingdom is not of this earth. And so whatever happens on this planet... It's none of our
business. That's the wrong notion.
I've heard people like that.
Yes, I've heard such too.
So the challenge is for religious leaders, media organizations, our educational institutions, to wake up to this task of this responsibility, that knowledge that, look, it is up to me what happens in this planet. A very popular writer said that evil thrive where good people decide to do nothing. We have so many good people in this country. But because the few evil people are the ones we see all the time, they dictate the direction.
So we tend to generalize.
Yes! They decide, what happens to us.
Now, the evil we are talking about right now, is it as it pertains to the position or personality? Now, what happens
That's the point.
So, what happens if certain positions requires you to take some oath of secrecy? Let's talk about politics, the way it is. Now, you as a person, you are supposedly good. And then certain positions requires you to take some oath that these are the way you're going to conduct yourself. You're going to conduct yourself in this manner until you're out. Now, this is the personality that is good, but there are certain things that are attached to the position that needs to change the person. At that point, are you actually saying the person should, retrieve his steps and say, no, I'm not going to be this again?
Well, one thing is that if you are a leader, or if you want to become a leader, what's the motivation for becoming the leader? That's one thing that that should come in play when in looking at this subject. If you want to go for a certain office, well, maybe there are some things that we don't know, right? But I believe that if you want to make a difference, even as a good person, and you enter into a system that gives you certain conditions or certain rules to go by, and you don't have a conviction that those rules are is to the favor of the generality of the people, right? The issue is, what can you do about it as you are in that place?
If you can't change it, would you advise the person withdraws?
Well, if you cannot change it, I believe that your being there is important. You have more influence while you are there.
So the person should go ahead and mingle with whatever to him is there.
You should go there, but wisdom depends on you.
Right.
Yes.
But we are talking
it
about
now depends on you to apply wisdom
surrounding a position.
Yes.
Now this person or personality is good. Let's assume, and the position is being surrounded with certain things. I really don't want to use corruption or whatever.
Yes.
Now the person is going there, and by the time the person gets there, he has no power to change that situation because it's been like precedent. It's been there.
Yes.
When they tell you that your forefathers did this and now that you are there.
But I want to believe that before you enter into that position, you have the support of you have some good people around you. It's not possible for you to just go there and then why it happens like that is, the truth is that most of the times when you see good people enter into certain positions and they become bad, it's because the good company that they used to have, they didn't carry
them along.
That company along. When they went there, they cut ties with any other good influence that have been in their lives. So they are alone. And it's easy to manipulate them at that point. But if you are going to that position, right, and the Constitution allows you to choose who you want to work with, why don't you look for the good people that you believe in? You have been with them over time. You have built some trust in them. Why don't you carry them along?
Not peradventure, you were brought into that position by some persons. I really want us to look at these things the way it is. Peradventure, someone was instrumental, a force was instrumental to your being where you are. And part of the conditions you are given is, I dictate or I give you a list of people you're going to run with. We are still talking about the personality or the position. Which one is, I don't want to say more evil. No, which one do we think that we should sanitize first? Or which one do we think we should, consider as being corrupt-free or being evil-free before we talk about voting? We are still looking at criteria or criteria at which you can vote someone, of course, having next year's election in view. Now, if someone is instrumental, like I said, a force is instrumental to your coming in there, and then you were given certain conditions which you adhere to, and you are coming, you are meeting a bad system. Remember, you are stopped by whatever conditions they have signed up to from bringing the good company you have. You are left alone to deal with what you have on ground. What difference can that person make?
Well, I think that is where the popular saying that in politics there is no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. To be a good politician, to be a very good leader, you must know when to run and when to sit, right? You must know when to walk and when to sleep. So it simply means that yes, they have been very instrumental to your coming to that place, right? But you must not dance to their tune.
Really?
Yes, we have seen it.
Break up with God for that reason.
Yes,
we've seen it. Yes,
we've seen it in Nigeria. It has happened, even though some of them is for good. It happens for good. Some is for the wrong reasons. But if you are doing that for the right reasons and you have a conviction that you are taking the right step, then why not go ahead? Because there is nobody that is indispensable in this life. That's my belief.
All right. I think most times when people have in view that they want to run for the second time, like we've seen it play out. Now, you are just coming in for the first tenure. You have never started doing anything. Your interest is going back to, I'm coming back again. So I wouldn't want to offend the powers that be that actually brought me here. Now, it's not going to be easy, but do you think we should come back to one tenure system in Nigeria? Having in mind that the purpose at which it was brought, I don't want to say I've been defeated, but it's almost defeated because most times you don't have continuity of project. a particular government comes into power and decides to stop the project of the previous and start up its own. And this is the reason why most of them will tell you, we want to come back and finish up what we have. Do you understand? Now, if it's not working out, the continuity project is not working out. Now, don't you think, or do you think we should rather go back to one tenure system in Nigeria?
Well, the one tenure system has its merits and demerits. One of the tendencies is that when you have a one tenure system, it gives a lot of time for someone to, to do whatever he wants to do, and sometimes it can be for the good of the people. It can still not be good for the people. So, but I prefer the current, system that we have, two tenure system. Yes, there is nothing wrong with that, right? But the only problem is for people to know when to take what decision, right? This person have served for 4 years. We have seen all that he can offer. Do we still want him to proceed, or do we want him to, to back up?
Now, Ayuba, how credible are electoral processes? Do you trust our electoral process?
Our electoral
process, if you are
processes,
advocating for us to stay put with what we have as second term and all that, because you're saying we should use 4 years to evaluate the government,
yes,
whether they are worthy of being brought back.
Yes.
Now, how credible, how reliable electoral process? We are still talking about next year's election.
Well, it has been said that there is no electoral system that is 100% credible in the world.
So what are we expecting next year?
But what I would just say is that it's still up to Nigerians. Who are the people in the Independent National Electoral Commission, for instance? We have Nigerians there, and they work. We call them public servants, isn't it? So I would just expect that Nigerians see their responsibilities beyond just they themselves and their families, but as a public servant, see that you owe, your entire country a duty to do what is right at all times. So, to our lawmakers, our, INEC officials, and every other person that has influence in electoral process, all I would say is, let it be a challenge that as you are discharging your duty, are you doing it in the interest of even the people you are not seeing, in the interest of the general public, or are you just doing it for your own interest? Because it's like karma. If you are doing it, if you feel that you are doing it just for your interest, it will catch up with you somehow, either directly or indirectly. That's why they say that don't throw stones in the market, because as you are throwing the stone, it may hit one of your own. So as you are busy collecting the money, you are busy selling people's votes, you are busy doing the things that you are doing, just know that somehow we are in a cycle and it will still come back to you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ayuba, and this is where actually we'll stop today. And of course, we've heard from him. Today we were busy talking about APC congresses across the state, and of course, party defection or cross-captioning across, and then we slightly touched on Oli Samitu, fainting in court, and of course the proceeding or the process was still continued. Now, to leave you with this word, uprightness is a prize, very high prize, but the truth is achievable, is obtainable. You can achieve uprightness. We are talking about next year's election, and we are still looking at the fact that we as Nigerians, we have a lot of roles to play to make next year's election, worthwhile. Like I asked, is the electoral process reliable? We can't have a reliable process when we as Nigerians were not reliable. It's not about selling your conscience or selling your vote or selling anything. Let's just get ready to tell ourselves the truth next year, and let's get ready to become upright regardless of the party that is coming out or the party you want is still there. Let's look at the personality that is good. Let's do proper evaluation of these personalities, because whatever thing we do, like he said, if you throw stone in the market, it might hit one of yours. Whatever thing we are doing, you think it does not concern you, one way or the other, the table might turn round, to affect you directly. And this is a goodbye from me, National Discourse, Uche Uduma, your host. See you same time tomorrow.